Welcome to Mr. C's Helpful Hints for the Young Instrumentalist, Episode 4. The star of this episode is a member of the woodwind family called the saxophone. The basic parts of the saxophone are the neck, the mouthpiece, and a round, open-ended metal piece called the ligature, and the body. In assembling the saxophone, the first thing a student should do upon opening the case is to place the neck strap around their neck. The next step is to attach the strap to the body of the saxophone. When handling the saxophone, care must be taken not to put pressure on any key or rod which will bend in any way, and ideally the instrument should be held by the bell. Hook the strap onto the circle on the back of the body of the instrument. We will now remove the end plug, which protects the connective lever for the octave key. The next step is to attach the neck to the body of the instrument. Before attachment is made, the cork on the neck should be greased. Keeping this cork moist with cork grease will help keep the instrument out of the repair shop and make the attachment of the mouthpiece an easier process. An important item of note when attaching the neck to the body of the instrument is the connecting lever. This lever must fit inside the brace of the octave key on the neck. Bending this lever during this process is a very common problem with beginners. Push the neck fully onto the body of the instruments, once again making sure the connecting rod has been properly placed. Tighten the tension screw to hold the neck firmly in place. To achieve a closer camera angle for the placement of the reed on the mouthpiece, I've decided to put the reed on the mouthpiece before attaching the mouthpiece section to the saxophone. It is advisable to wait and place the reed on the mouthpiece after the mouthpiece has been attached to the neck. Slide the flat side of the reed over the opening of the mouthpiece, carefully placing the reed far enough down until you see a hairline of black above the reed. The ligature should be placed far enough down on the reed until you can see what is called the horseshoe-shaped cut of the reed. Gradually tighten the screws of the ligature until the fit is snug around the reed. Be careful not to tighten the screws too tight, as this will hinder tone production once playing has begun. Finally, we will place the assembled mouthpiece on the neck of the saxophone. With a gentle turning and pushing motion, slide the mouthpiece into the cork section of the neck. A general rule of thumb is that the mouthpiece should be placed so that at least half of the cork is covered. For proper hand position while playing, we are first going to start with the right hand. The right hand thumb is placed under the thumb rest found on the back of the saxophone, with the little finger lightly touching the C key, while the remaining fingers fall into a relaxed curve touching the 3 pearl buttons. The left-hand thumb has the function of operating the octave key. It is placed at a diagonal angle across the instrument so that the fleshy part is on the plate and the tip of the thumb is touching but not pressing the octave key. The little finger lightly touches the G-sharp key, while the remaining fingers fall into a relaxed curve with a pattern of skip, place, place on the pearl buttons. The disassembly process of the saxophone is basically the reverse of the steps discussed earlier in this episode, but should include the drying out of the interior of each section. The interior of the body is cleaned with a piece of material tied to a weighted string called a swab. Many different types of swabs are available, but the cord of the swab must be long enough to drop entirely through the body of the instrument. Swabbing the interior will prevent the accumulation of dirt and grime and will help in maintaining sanitary conditions for playing. A neck cleaner, which consists of a flexible metal wire with a soft wool swab on one end and a stiff brush on the other, should also be used as part of a consistent maintenance routine. And finally, the mouthpiece should be swabbed after each use to keep it blowing freely and to maintain sanitary conditions for playing. One other item of note, every saxophone should have a protective cap that can be placed over the mouthpiece while the instrument isn't being used. This will save the reed from being chipped accidentally. I hope this episode has been an aid to your young saxophone players, and you can find more information about the continuing series of Mr. C's helpful hints on my website at web.mac.com/mcaruth2.